Hi there, and thank you for stopping by today. My name is Mohammad Farooq Anwar. Today, I just want to start off with a basic overview of serverless computing. First, let's clarify the term serverless. The term serverless in serverless computing is a misnomer. The server is present in serverless computing, and the server is essential component of the computing process. The user doesn't have to care or to be concerned about where the server is when he is building solutions. The servers are abstracted from the users. Serverless computing is a subtype of cloud computing, in which backend services such as storage, database, or code execution are provided by the serverless vendor on an as used basis. And the payment model is pay as you go use. In other words, there is no pay for an idle resource. In cloud computing, we pay for resources even when the resources are idle. For example, in paas, we are paying for at least a single instance of VM even if it is sitting idle. But in serverless computing, we do not pay for the idleness of the resources. Serverless vendors automatically provision computing resources or containers needed to run code both on demand or in response to the trigger of an event. In an event driven programming model, not only does it automatically provision computing resources, but serverless computing also has the feature of elastic scalability. What it means, computing resources are scaled up to meet the demand of increased request, and it scales down as the number of requests goes down and shuts down completely when there are no requests. The idea of elastic scalability saves money, and it helps vendors to efficiently utilize resources. Another feature is productivity. In serverless architecture, engineers have to focus on code instead of managing backend cloud infrastructure and tasks such as provisioning, scaling, patching, and other related things. As a result, serverless computing helps increase faster delivery of code. Backend services, which serverless computing offers, are mainly database, storage, and function as a service. In addition, serverless architecture is well suited in event driven and stream processing related applications. The other type of backend service is API gateway. API Gateway manages HTTP calls to web services such as routing, rate limits, cross origin resource sharing, and authentication. Essentially, these web services are wrappers over function as a service. Or, in other words, API Gateway delegates requests to the code block, which is essentially implemented as a function as a service. In serverless stack, function as a service or faas is central to the serverless architecture and deals with the code of the application. Any serverless computing based application will most likely include faas. In order to understand function as a service from the serverless stack, let's look into this diagram. Let's assume in this diagram that the web application is implemented using serverless architecture. Let's focus on customer service and user service. The customer service is interacting with external API and the user service is interacting with external database. For the user information, for example, user verification and new user registration, you get the idea, right? In this use case, customer service and user service can leverage function as a service. For example, AWS Lambda from the serverless stack. If you're using AWS Cloud Platform, using function as a service to implement customer service and user service, engineers have to only write the code for the functional aspect of the service or business logic part of the service. The execution and scalability aspects will be taken care by serverless provider, for example, AWS. And this is a huge plus of PaaS if you look at it from the time saving and productivity perspective. Let's look into other components of serverless stack. In most enterprise grade applications, database and storage are foundation. That's why it is called data layer. Now, when you are applying serverless architecture for the database and storage, instead of provisioning database instances with defined capacity or fixed storage space, you can use serverless database and storage service and pay for what you use. Additionally, serverless database and storage services will scale automatically. Let's try to understand this with the example we have. In using serverless architecture, user service can store user registration in the serverless database such as DynamoDB or Amazon Aurora to optimize cost and scalability of the user service. And another component in serverless stack is event driven and stream processing. If your application is event driven or stream processing application, you can use serverless architecture. One of the challenges of this kind of application is the unpredictability of workloads, and this makes planning and managing scalability needs challenging. You may over provision or under provision resources. The serverless architecture is very useful for this type of application to handle scalability and management of runtime resources as per the need. So let's look at some of the benefits. The first benefit is you pay for execution only. What that means is there is no idle time. Your function is running, that's the only time you are paying for that. And it is very cost efficient, and functions usually run at 100 milliseconds of times. Another is auto scalable. That is the responsibility taken by cloud provider. When you architect your app, you are very less concerned with the resources. Next is faster time to market. Again, since you are not responsible for any of the management and deployment of any of the underlying infrastructure, you can build your apps faster. So by this, you can solve customers' problem faster and bring them to the market. Next is polyglot environment. Function as a service allows you to write the code in any language and frameworks that you are comfortable with. A lot of cloud providers have multiple languages that they support. So it could be very helpful in case where you are comfortable with one language and you want to write in that language. So that is totally okay in the serverless environment. Last but not the least is all the serverless apps are highly available. What that means is that cloud provider takes care of all the fault tolerance and the multi-zone regions that they build to make sure that your app is always up and running. And all the service that you're using in event-driven architecture are also fault tolerant. So your app overall is always highly available. Thank you for joining. So this is just a quick overview of serverless computing and its offering. If you have any questions, please drop me a line in the comments below. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.